Hi, I'm Dalbir Singh, and today I will discuss the three ways we can join strings in SQL Server. To start with, I've got an employees table here which contains around 5 rows. And as you can see, we've got 3 columns: title, first name, and surname. So what I'm going to do is add an extra column known as a computed column that will join all 3 of these columns together. The first method is the plus operator. The plus operator combines several column expressions and or string literals. Now, if you're from a programming background or a software developer, you'll be comfortable with this approach as it's the most common way of joining strings. However, it does have issues in SQL Server, as we will see shortly. Okay, so back to our demo. We're going to add a new column that will contain the joined version of all the columns using the plus operator. So title plus, let's not forget the white space, plus first name plus white space plus surname. And we will alias this column as the plus operator. Okay, so let's execute this. And that's great. You can see here it's joined all the columns together and included white space as well. But we've got a problem here on row 4. We've got a null for our string join. So we've got a Mr. for the title, Peter for first name, but we have nothing for the surname. Now you would expect that we would still render Mr. Peter, but SQL Server behaves differently. When using the plus operator, if any of the expressions equate to null, the entire join string is nullified. Now this is something we don't want, and luckily our next method will fix this. So the next method is to use the COALESCE function. Now COALESCE on its own is not a string joiner or string builder, but it can be very useful when used in combination with the plus sign operator. COALESCE will take 7 expressions. Now these expressions can be columns or they can be string literals. And what it will do is it will select the first non-null value and then output that value. So in this mini example, if col1 is null, it will then evaluate col2. And if col2 is not null, then the value of col2 will be rendered. Now in another scenario, if col1 is null and col2 is null, then as you can see here, we've got a hard-coded string literal. This is what will be returned because clearly it's not null. And normally we'll put a string literal at the end of the parameter list within the COALESCE function. So let's try this now in our demo. Okay, so back to our demo. I'm just going to do a quick shortcut here by copying our plus op row, and we'll use this as our COALESCE example. And let's try that now. So COALESCE, so render the title. And if title is null, then return an empty string. And we'll try the same again here for the first name. COALESCE, first name, or if first name is null, then return an empty string. And the same for the surname as well. Okay, there we go. So let's try this method. And that's perfect. So everything has been rendered, and in cases where we do have nulls, remember that the null there is for the plus op. That's the null we're interested in. Mr. Peter, that's exactly what we would expect. So COALESCE has helped us fix this null issue. Now there is one final method that for this scenario, in this example, is actually much more simpler and a lot cleaner to read. So let's check that out. So our final function is the CONCAT function, and you can think of CONCAT as a hybrid between the plus operator and the COALESCE function. Now, it's not a direct replacement for the COALESCE function, as the COALESCE function has many different applications where it can be used, but it does mimic some of the underlying features of the COALESCE function. So here we have 3 column expressions that are supplied. Concat will join each one of these column expressions, but if one or more of these column expressions returns a null, Concat is smart enough to substitute that null with an empty string, meaning we don't have our entire string nullified as shown in the first example. So let's see this in practice. Okay, so we're back in the demo, and before I start using the concat function, I'm just going to comment out these first three columns, and that's just to make space in the results view. We'll sort that out as well. Okay, so let's go for concat. We're going to join the title column. Don't forget the white space, the first name column. Don't forget the white space, and the surname column as well. There we go. And we'll alias this as the concat column. So let's now execute this. And you can see straight away the results are somewhat identical to COALESCE, but if you look at this line here, it's far more readable and we had to type far less code. So for this specific example, I would go with concat. So there it is, 3 different approaches to joining strings in SQL Server. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe for more SQL Server content. Thanks for watching.